Welcome to the Lady Stairs Knits podcast. I'm Sarah, I'm 25 and I live in Philadelphia, and this on my lap is Fergus. He's 2 and he also lives in Philadelphia, and I'm excited to be making my second podcast. It's been about 3 weeks since I filmed my last video, and I've done a lot of knitting, so I'm excited to show you everything that I've done and tell you about it and talk about my plans for the next few weeks. So let's jump right in. I finished 3 things over the past 3 weeks, 2 hats and a pair of socks. I'll start with the one hat that I have here with me to show you, and it's this white Musselburgh hat. It's made using what I think is a sport weight alpaca. I lost the ball band because I bought this really early in my knitting journey. And I wound it up into a ball, so it's been in a ball in my stash for years. I have no idea where I got it, anything about it, other than it seems to be about a sport weight and it really feels like alpaca. So this hat is beautiful and soft and really warm, and I love this pattern. I think that it's, even if I don't always make the full Musselburgh orb, I really like top-down hats now. For if I don't know how much yarn I have, I can just start at the top rather than having to guess how much the decreases will take. So I really like this hat. It's nice. It's I just knit as long as I had the yarn for. It's not as long as the pattern calls for. Although if I wanted to be trendy and I wasn't that cold, I could wear it folded up like this. It's got a lot of drape, and you can see the sort of 4-pronged increase and decrease. So this was a huge success. I really enjoyed making it. The next thing I made was another Musselburgh hat that I finished. And I left this in Scotland. Let me just pull this yarn out of the bag. I left the hat in Scotland because it was just a little bit too small once it had been folded inside itself. It was fine to wear, but it slid up off my head after a while. So I might make another one because I liked it a lot. It was combining these 2 yarns. This yarn I had bought intending to hold it along with a pink quite similar to this, for that, what was the Hedgehog Fibers cardigan that had the puffy sleeves? I think it was the Le Pouf cardigan. So I was planning on doing a fade and using this. And that plan over the past 18 months has become less and less appealing to me. It's just, although now I'm talking about it, it sounds pretty good, but it just wasn't really front of mind for me anymore, and I had no idea what I would do with this yarn because it's really starkly stripy. I thought that holding it with the mohair would tone it down a little. I don't really think that it did, but it ended up being a really fun and really bright hat, and I love a bright hat. I think it's great for safety if you're out hiking in bad weather. It's quite trendy at the moment, so I think I might make another one of these, but a bit bigger. I used 4.5 millimeter needles, and the fabric was really nice. I think when you put it inside, you lose a lot of the width because it makes such a thick fabric. But my dad has a much smaller head than me, so it fit him really well and he wanted it. So that was my second finished object of the past 2 weeks. I will insert some photos so that you can see, and maybe you'll see another one again, although I think it would probably look different if I used a different needle size or at a different stitch count, because the pooling turned into this thick diagonal sort of stripe. So I think that the pooling would probably be different if I changed anything. And that's pretty cool. I do like this yarn, even if it's not the easiest to deal with. It's called Queen of Roses, and it's got this bright pink, a white, and then flashes of green. Which is very thematically neat. And this is a Pearl Soho tussock in Pink Lightning. Let me check. Pink Joy. And it's sort of a pastel neon. So that's my second whip. My third whip I also don't have to show you, but it is a pair of socks that I made for my dad. I had this vision of the three of us, me and both of my parents, having matching Christmas socks. And I wanted to use vintage tinsel, which is this year's West Yorkshire Spinner sock colorway. It's got some stellina, it's stripy and beautiful. And I'm holding it with Blueberry Bonbon, which doesn't really match the blue when they're next to each other, but it's close enough that it looks cohesive. And I made a pair of socks for myself. I'm actually wearing them right now. There you go. Which are broken rib, and I thought I would just make a pair of vanilla socks, just plain stockinette, so that my dad could get a lot of use out of them, because I've never made him a pair of socks. And my gran, who also knits, said that she tried to make a pair of socks once when she was younger, and they turned out with high heels. So since then she's never made a pair. So I thought it would be nice to make for him. My other dad, who is extremely knit-worthy, he will wear anything that I make him over and over and over again, is also going to get a pair of socks from me. But it just didn't happen in time. It took too long. I used a 2mm needle, which is smaller than I normally use. I normally do a 2.25 or a 2.5. And I could tell the difference big time between using what I normally use and the 2mm. I also brought a 10-inch cord, just because when I was packing I couldn't find my 9-inch cord, and I really didn't like using the 10-inch cord. The combination of the smaller needle and the slightly too long cord made it quite hard on my hands to work with, and so it took me almost the whole 3 weeks to finish the pair of socks, even though they were just plain stockinette socks. I did a heel flap and gusset with this being the contrast toe and heel, and they came out really, really nice. I'm probably going to do something a little bit more out of the box for my other dad, because he likes to wear more. I think he would be more willing to wear a more out of the box pair of socks, whereas I thought that Martin, the first dad, would be more likely to get wear out of a really simple and sturdy pair, which is also why I didn't have any of the stripy, sparkly sock above the shoe level where it would be visible. So with this color, it'll be pretty easy to wear. It's a very fine gauge, so hopefully they'll hold up for a long time. And I was really happy with them when I finished them, and they fit him perfectly, and he was happy with them too. So that's the third finished object. And those are the 3 things that I finished while I was away at home. I don't think I've mentioned it this week, but I grew up in Edinburgh in Scotland, and this was the first time I've been back in over 2 years. Because of the pandemic, I wasn't able to go back to Scotland, so I really missed it, and I really loved being home. So I just got back to the States yesterday. It's nice to see my boyfriend and my cat and be in my own apartment again, but it was definitely a much needed trip back to Scotland, and I hope that there's never a period as long in the future that I have to go without being there. So let's move on and talk about some works in progress. The first work in progress that I'm going to talk about is another Musselburgh hat, the final one of the 3, and it's actually my favorite one of the 3. It was just the least far along, which is why it got worked on the least. I currently have it on 2 knitting needles. I was knitting it on the plain, and I needed to use the other 2 needles to make a swatch, so I sort of jammed it on the other 2, and this is how far I am. I've just finished the decreases. I'm making it significantly larger than the pink one, and when I tried to add a few increases, I ended up doing the pattern wrong and it looked bad, so I ripped almost all of it out on the plain, and I got back to the end of the increases, and then I decided to stop so that I could measure how much I used of the yarn. This isn't a full skein, so I didn't want to risk running out and then not knowing how much I needed for the decreases. The mohair is by the dyer Trailes, who I believe is based in Greece, and I bought it at what was at that point in time my local yarn shop in 2019, which was Argyle Yarn Shop in Park Slope in Brooklyn. And the colorway is Hakuna Matata. I really like it. I bought it on a whim and I didn't really know what I was going to make with it, but I love how it's knitting up. And my other color is this neon orange, which normally I would not say is one of my colors. It came in a Pride yarn set that I bought from Neighborhood Fiber Co. in 2019, or 2020? I don't remember if it was 2020 or 2019. Anyway, I wanted to make a really bright orange hat, and these look awesome together. I'll give you a look at what the fabric looks like, although it's pretty bunched up. I'm excited for this to be done. This is the sort of thing that I can do a couple rounds on if I have a spare 5 minutes, and that's probably how it's going to be finished. Not particularly quickly, but not too slow because I'm really enjoying it. It didn't get any work done when I was in Scotland, but it was just on the plane when I was working on it. And I think I've been really loving the DPNs, but I might switch it to a circular needle because I think that I knit faster with a circular needle, and I need to use these DPNs for another project. I'm using 4mm DPNs, by the way. The other work in progress that I showed last time that I've made some progress on is my Burrow Cardigan. And I am knitting it with Knitwear and knitting for olive mohair, and it's gorgeous. Here's the Knitwear up close. It's in a plate form. This is the color Val, and it's got a lot of the natural gray fiber in it. So it has a beautiful sheen. This is just a really stunning color, a little bit of vegetable matter. I bought the mohair when they were doing a comb sale, maybe about this time last year, and it's, I think, in the colorway dark blue. I'm using two strands of the mohair and one strand of the Knitwear, and I've been balling it by hand before I knit with it because it's so fragile that it breaks a lot when I try and knit it from the plate. So I just make these really squishy balls from the plates. Here's a big one that I did when I was watching a movie. They're really squishy because you don't want to put any tension on it or it'll just drift apart because it's unspun. So I've made quite a lot of progress with this. Very gently show you. Here's the length. I'm modifying this to be steeked. So I cast on, I think, 7 steek stitches, 5 steeking stitches. And yeah, I'm just steeking it up the front. I'll probably not do a crochet reinforcement, but I might felt it a little bit before I cut it. Just I think that these yarns will really lend themselves to that. And this is just a stunning combination. I really like it. I'm a little bit worried that it's going to be small. And I don't really know what I can do about that at this point other than just ripping it out. I guess I could add a steek up the back as well and have that just like as a design feature, and knit a panel to go in the back. I think what I'll do is get to the end of the body, and when I cast off for the underarms, I will try it on. Because I know that it's going to get a little bit of width when I knit the button band out of this. This is my first steek. Well, my first deliberate steek. I've had to cut and sew, do sweater surgery before, but I've never done a deliberate steek before. And I think that this yarn is a great candidate for it because it's really clingy. And it's great. I'm almost there. I think I want to do another couple of inches, but that's it because it's cropped, and even if it was right up in my armpit, which it's ideally not going to be, this is just to my waist now. So I think I want to do another inch or two, and then I'm going to start working on a sleeve. So that's also something that I want to do more work on. It's knitting up really fast. It's really nice to like feel the yarn as I'm working with it, and it's living in this really big toiletries bag that I got as a child for free, I think. Now, okay, so I guess I'll go through what I'm planning on knitting over the next few weeks, and then I'll talk through the yarn that I acquired while I was in Scotland and tell you about that. So I want to finish the orange hat. I'd like to finish the body of the cardigan, the Burrow Cardigan, and I'd like to cast on the socks for my dad, who hasn't received a pair of socks yet. So those are 3 things. Oh, I got selected to do a test knit, which I'm really excited about. I've bought the yarn for it, so I'll show you the yarn, but I won't be able to show you what I'm knitting, although I think it's only a month away, the deadline, so then I'll be able to show it. So I'll also probably be working on that a lot. It's a DK weight sweater. So those are 4 projects, the socks, the hat, the cardigan, and the test knit sweater. So I think that that's more than enough to keep me occupied for the next little while. Check in next time if you would like to see my progress on those things. And now I'm going to show you the yarn that I acquired while I was home. So the first yarn that I'm going to show you is a mohair from Anfield Farm. I got a sweater quantity of this. It's a DK weight. It's 50% mohair, 50% Shetland wool, and I'm so excited to finally have my hands on this. The people are family friends who own the farm, and I knew that they got Angora goats maybe a year and a half ago, and I've been following them on Facebook, and I was so excited when they posted that they had yarn available, and my parents got me some for the holidays. So I have these postcards that they sent with the yarn, and it has some information about it. Look at that. Cute. Okay, I'll read it to you. Our story. Our goat adventure started in 2020 with 7 goats and a dream to make high-quality Scottish yarn. This is exactly what we are doing now. Our flock of Angora goats is raised ethically and slaughter-free. All our sheep wool is purchased from ethical local farmers and smallholders who believe in producing quality products and raising happy animals. By buying our wool, you're supporting us, a young couple beginning our farming career, but also other farmers to make a fair living out of wool and get paid a fair price for it. That's nice. And then here's one. My cat decided to eat the corner. They say, promises our wool is 100% local. Our mohair comes from a no-kill flock. Our goats stay with us until the end of their lives. The yarn is transformed as close to the farm as possible to limit our transport emissions. Our wool is never mixed with plastic and is therefore entirely biodegradable. Our wool is never bleached, and our packaging is made from recycled material and completely compostable. And they also have all of this in French because they are a Scottish-French couple who were running the farm. Did I show you this? That's cute. So here's a look at the wool. I got 8 skeins of this. I want to make like a really cabled, really nice raglan jumper. And I'm thinking like something akin to the Billy jumper by Sari Norland. And I think that that would really show off how beautiful this wool is. It's soft, but it's not like extremely soft. It's soft in the way that really nice wool is soft, but it's not soft in a way that makes it feel very processed. Like it's not like superwash merino soft, but I could definitely wear it next to skin, even on my forehead as a hat, which is the place that I'm quite sensitive. And it's a beautiful off-white color. So I was really excited when I opened that box. I also got a sweater quantity as a gift from my parents from Musselburgh, and I had told them that I would love to get a sweater quantity of the Musselburgh yarn in the DK weight, but I said I wanted them to choose the color, and they picked this color. It's Northern Soul. It's a really cool yellow orange, like macaroni and cheese from the box type of color, which is so unlike anything else that I have in clothes and yarn. And it's in the Cheviot Marsh base, which is 100% lamb's wool. And it's really gorgeous. I have 8 skeins of it, and I don't know what I want to make with this. Maybe like a nice cardigan, like a toque cardigan, with kind of a higher crew neckline. That would be nice. It looks nice with this shirt. I really like the color. At first I was a little bit unsure, but I do really like it. I love their little logo too, it's so cute. Yeah, it was a great present receiving event. I love both of those yarns. I managed to hold off buying any yarn for almost the whole time I was in Scotland. Not because I was deliberately wanting to not buy yarn, but just because I feel like I have enough stuff. And I love receiving gifts, especially the ones that I got, but I didn't really want to go out and buy a ton of yarn, just because I have a lot and I feel very content with what I have. But then I got picked for the test knit that I mentioned earlier in this episode, and I don't have the yarn that I would need to make that. So I walked over to Broughton Street and I went into a shop called Kathy's Knits, which I'd never heard of or been in before. I was with a non-knitter friend who was extremely patient and kind, and I walked in the shop and it was amazing, absolutely amazing. I was immediately taken with like the first yarn that I laid eyes on and didn't even look at anything else in the shop until I was already paying. And then I realized they had like a whole wall of Jameson of Shetland or Jameson and Smith. I don't remember which one it was, but just the night before I had been thinking I would love to see these colors in person, because I was looking at some Fair Isle patterns, like Fair Isle slipover patterns, which I would love to make. So I needed 4 colors for this sweater, and these are the 4 colors that I chose. The colors are Sandstone, Natural Black, Autumn, and Tiger. And they're from the New Lanark Mills. Some of them are the 90% pure new wool, 10% silk, and some of them are 100% pure new wool, I think. These 3 are 100% pure new wool, and this one is 10% silk. I think they're going to be gorgeous together. I love the New Lanark Mills yarn. My first jumper that I ever made was made with their Aran weight. It was like a thick striped jumper in dark green and dark blue, which I definitely, it was my first rodeo, and I made a lot of mistakes. I went back in and fixed it up a few years later, and then I gave it to a friend, and I haven't heard about it since. I've asked for pictures of her wearing it, and she never sent them to me, which is a little disappointing, but I hope she's getting more wear out of it than I got, because I really never wore it. I don't tend to wear like drop shoulder sweaters very often, and she wears that a lot, which is why I gave it to her. And she always said that she wanted it. So hopefully she's getting a lot of wear out of it, and I'm excited to make another garment out of the new Lanark yarn for myself. Also, when I was in that shop, I got another skein of the Blueberry Bonbon from West Yorkshire Spinners, just because my socks took 66 grams. My socks took 66 grams. The first pair of socks that I made for my dad, Martin, took 72 grams. So I wouldn't have had enough yarn to make another pair of socks of the same length. So I thought I would just get another. And I was thinking of buying it from like the Woolly Thistle or another shop that carries UK yarns. And those shops are great, but it was really nice to get it for much cheaper in Scotland. And I was already in the shop. So that's awesome. So I think I'm going to make, there's a pattern in the Linea 52 Weeks of Socks Dear Bjorn, which I've made before, and I want to try a 1x1 stripe because I think that the slip stitch pattern would look really cool with that. So maybe I'll show you that next week if I have it done. So now I can do blue heels and toes and cuff, and I have about 33 grams of this left. So I think that that will be enough. If you're in the UK, by the way, and you can't find any more of the vintage tinsel colorway, they have it on the John Lewis website. They just haven't labeled it with any useful information, which I guess is why people can't find it, because it's sold out in a lot of places. But if you just go to their website and then search West Yorkshire Spinners and scroll, it's there, or at least it was there like 2 days ago. I didn't need any more, so I didn't buy it, but I was really shocked because there was a time when I thought about getting more and I couldn't. So I think that those are all of my yarn purchases. Oh, no, that's not. I bought a book while I was in Scotland as well, and it actually arrived today, so I don't have it here, but my parents sent me pictures of the one pattern that I'm really excited about, and they're gonna send forward the book. But I bought Shetland Wool Week 2021 because I wanted the Roosty vest. It's like a little vest, slip over sort of thing. So maybe I'll make a swatch or two for that as well. I can't stop thinking about it. I don't have the yarn for it, but I could make a sample with the yarn that I do have and see if anything would work. So even if it was like a DK weight, then I could change like size, make a smaller size with a thicker yarn, that would be fine. I'm not really picky about that sort of thing. So that's everything that I have to show you and talk about today. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I'll check in 2 to 3 weeks. Hopefully I will have made progress on all of the patterns and projects that I mentioned I wanted to progress on. And hope you have a good 2 weeks. Thanks for watching. Hello to my 2 subscribers. Thank you for subscribing. It's exciting. And I will talk to you soon. Goodbye.